Good evening, everybody. I'm Zach, and this is Rob, and we are in the buff again for the next to last time, it seems like, because we've got the finale next week. We had a double boot last night, which was very exciting. Episode did feel just a little bit rushed.
Uh, let's just dive into that. It wasn't really a double boot. It was a double episode in an hour, right? Which is
Okay.
a big difference, don't you think? So
They-
I want to complain about this. Was it Thanksgiving weekend or
that,
Thanksgiving?
that one was basically two episodes. In this one, we got two immunity challenges in one episode.
And did they even tell us that they were going to do this? I mean, they alluded to it.
They told us in previews in the week leading up to it. That was all that I got.
So it wasn't really, though, we just voted somebody out, wait 5 minutes, and you have to vote somebody else again. I was disappointed. I've been waiting for that all season.
Oh yeah, okay.
And they're not going to do that.
The double tribal council where you have a you have an immunity challenge and you go to tribal council and you vote somebody out, and then you immediately vote somebody else out again. They've done that in the past, and I always think that's interesting because it doesn't give anybody any time to do anything.
Yeah, and it really changes the game. And they haven't done that this season. Although they've pumped us up for it twice now.
They haven't done that in several seasons. I'm trying to think the last time they did that. I suppose I can think of I think either Heroes and Villains or Nicaragua. Last time they did a double tribal council.
It's also interesting they don't give them any rewards, therefore, either.
Yeah. So, Jay's got this advantage now that he hasn't had an opportunity to use. At least not that's been aired.
You mean Ken?
No, Jay has the reward steal.
Oh, that's right. Oh, sorry. We don't know what Ken's is. Never mind.
Right. Ken's is the legacy advantage, which he gets to open at the beginning of the next episode.
Ooh.
So we'll let's see. We'll get to that. I want to talk about the first part of the episode. Last week, Zeke was voted out. Adam played an idol. Hannah got to stay. Zeke got to go. Will flipped on Zeke, and we got to talking about, or we have the castaways talking rather, about how making moves in this game is necessary because it builds your resume, but it also is a double-edged sword, which because it puts this target on your back, like, oh, they're making moves, they're playing hard, you got to get rid of them. And so, like, it's the question, like, is Will's move big enough?
I think it was big enough, yes. But my opinion, my take on it is that he then got hot-headed, and I think I used the word sophomoric last week. That he, like a wise fool. That's what I think that word means exactly. Sophomoric, wise fool. Like he was too enabled by what he was able to accomplish. And I think it was a big move. I think it was a good move. I think it's something he maybe should have done. But then he came back to tribal council and was immediately, because it was one of the confessionals, and I think you've counted them already, but he was like, I've made the big move and I can do this and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. Now I'm a threat. And he wanted to keep going. He was just overly confident, which is what often happens earlier in the game.
Yeah.
With a lot of players.
Right. that's kind of how, it's almost always how it happens, where it's like you make a big move and then you're on this high from, oh, I made a big move, let's make another one. And it gets to be too much for people. And it's like, you gotta make your big move and then you gotta settle down and you gotta say, okay, so what's next?
Yeah, it's like a tribal high, and then you like either stay up there.
But people try to ride that tribal high and make another big move right away, and that's when you get voted out. And that's what Will is trying to do.
And I think it's worse for the players who don't do it early in the game. So if we take David, for example, who did that tribal high for a long ride at the very beginning of the game, and somehow flew under the radar.
Yeah.
That's easier to do because in the end he's learned, or he's tempered it, or somehow he's learned to manage that at this point in the game. Whereas Will, and for example, Sunday and Hannah would be the next one that could have that tribal burnout. If you have a tribal high, you have a tribal burnout. So.
Right. I like the tribal burnout. That's a good term. We've seen that after Zeke is left, Will's about to get his burnout. But that alliance with Zeke gone, the Zeke, Brett, Sunday, Jay alliance kind of crumbles, and Brett and Sunday start attaching themselves to Adam. And I didn't really see that coming or understand that at all.
I was a little confused with that too.
So,
I think Adam has been flying under my radar a little bit. Like, I've known he's been playing the game, but I don't know if I fully understood maybe some of his tangential relationships that he was building to allow that to happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think this week Adam's game really came to the forefront.
I do agree with you there. Adam is he's putting himself in a position to win the game, which is a very good position to be in at final 3.
Well, we'll get to it, but I think he played one of the most masterful moves of the season.
Yeah,
this week. So
he certainly did. But his position in the game certainly helped that. So we talked about. We also saw a little bit from Hannah.
Actually, I think we saw a lot from Hannah this week.
We did see, I do feel like a lot from Hannah.
Or a lot more of her gameplay and her strategy.
Yes, and she's becoming a very good player, and I think we could easily see her again on possibly a fans versus favorites type season.
Maybe. It's really interesting because I think we saw some of her analytical skills, because she's clearly like a visual thinker. Because there was that scene, and I think it was before the first vote, where who was it? Was it Adam and her or whatever? But she was crouched down in the sand, and I think that's where you're going. Mm-hmm. And they were like, "We need to vote out." Was it David or whoever? And she's like, "But no, why?" And she was like scribbling it out in the sand.
Right, and that was just to keep things. That's kind of to keep things clear for her, and I would probably end up doing the same thing from time to time. But during the first vote, they were deciding who they wanted to vote for. They knew they they had some targets in Will, David, and Jay, but Hannah, wasn't sure who she wanted to vote for, because she said she owed Will because he flipped for them last week, but she owes David because he was willing to draw a rock.
Isn't it also where she said that she needed David in the end, or did that come later?
I think that was later.
But regardless, obviously she's thinking way beyond the game at this point.
She's started playing very well. I was interested to note and a little confused that when she was talking about all the people that she owed for saving her at the last tribal council, she didn't mention Adam, who played the immunity idol for her.
And that's a theme this season. So who was it? David played the idol for
Jessica.
And they go back to camp, and she doesn't even say thank you.
Yeah, and then David plays the idol for her, and then she aligns with Ken. And it's like,
yeah, and that kind of happened again, essentially, with Hannah.
That's funny. I hadn't really noticed that. But that's an interesting point, because it's like when somebody plays an idol for you, it's like I've raised from my perspective. I feel like it should be like, oh, you played an idol for me.
Well, and
I'm kind of stuck. I'm stuck with you now.
Well, perhaps it's a change or a shift in the game or an evolution in that the idols aren't really being played on those people. They're being played for the people who are playing them. You know what I mean? They're playing them for that person so that the next move they can make is still, rather than actually saving the person so that person can have a game. It's not about that person who they're saving. It's about themselves. And maybe that's why they're not as thankful as they have been in the past when that's happened.
Interesting. So it's about. So you're saying that you're playing the idol for somebody else because it helps their game.
Yeah. So I play the idol to save you, for example.
Because that's best for your game.
Yes. It's better for my game, and it's irrelevant that you're here or not.
Got it. Interesting.
I think that may be a part of it. I think that's because the idol play this season has been very interesting.
Yes.
It's playing out.
I've enjoyed the idol play. I always like seeing idols played for other people. That always makes for, in my opinion, I think that makes for a fun tribal council, at least as a viewer, because it's like.
Would you like? Because we've talked about idols every episode probably, but wouldn't you like to see what a game of Survivor is like without an idol? What would happen? How would that change the game?
You mean a modern season where people are used to having idols and then all of a sudden they don't?
And then they don't have idols. It's almost like an Inception, or what's that movie where they twist everything? It's
where they what?
Inception.
Inception?
Yeah, wasn't that a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio or something?
Yes, it was. I'm missing the connection, but
so it's they're gonna expect idols and they're gonna search for them and everything, but they can't find them
because they're not there.
Because they're not there. But then they're gonna create their own. So I don't know. It could really.
That would make an interesting twist. I would, now that we're talking about it, I would be interested in seeing how that worked out.
Because am I correct that every season always has some sort of idol?
Since the creation of Hidden Immunity Idols, yes.
Since the creation? Well,
we didn't. Well, Survivor didn't start out with Hidden Immunity Idols. They made their first appearance in season 11.
Did it?
But yes, but since then we've had idols every season. Yes.
Speaking of, though, a change, though, so one thing that used to be a big thing in previous seasons was tree mail, where they told you what was about to happen or what was going on. There's been, like, no tree mail this season.
Yeah, we haven't really seen the tree mail arrival. It still exists, as far as I know. They're just not.
I'm just saying, like,
into it.
And that's kind of like, I was thinking about that watching this week's episode, because I was like, okay, so we're voting 2 people out this week. You know, it's a double eviction. That used to be something that would have been announced, like, by tree mail. And then there would have been the squirming at camp, like, oh, we're going to have to vote 2 people out. Or before. And it was just, and we said this all season long, boom, boom, boom. Challenge, immunity, vote. Challenge, immunity, vote. It's just a little boring, I find, with this season, in a way.
I haven't been bored this season at all, so I don't.
Well, I wouldn't say boring. I don't like the way. I don't like the presentation.
It's too typical for you. You're saying.
And maybe I'm being a bit nostalgic, but yeah.
But at the same time, because I was talking about this a little bit, or on Twitter, and listening to other people talk about this on Twitter. How they kind of stopped doing it that way, you know, in part because we've had so many quits and or evacuations in recent seasons, and so it hurts planning late in the season when you do these double tribal councils early in the season, and so it's better to just have immunity challenge, tribal council. That way you can kind of make up for a player leaving the game and through other means.
Right. So it's production efficiency, which makes a lot of sense, actually. I mean, regardless,
it is those double tribal councils have been exciting in the past. I wouldn't mind seeing them again, but I understand why they're not doing them anymore.
Yeah, fair enough.
So Jay wins immunity, which is perfect for me because he's my new pick. And we go to tribal council, and the question is Will still the swing vote? Is Will still with the 5? Or is there a new group, and there seems to be a new group or rather, it's just the old group reformed of Adam, Hannah, Ken, and David.
Yeah, well, I think more importantly, or one thing that's happened sort of all season, but particularly this episode, was Jay wins immunity, and he just walks away. He's like, great, bye, see ya, I'm done. And that's, I would say, a strategically bad move on his part.
You think that would be hurting his social game?
Yeah, because he was just like, I don't care, I'm going to go fishing. You know, I won immunity. Thanks. And I think that's kind of what he did. And he just let the others piece it out for him. And in the past, other strategic players who win immunity always, even if they are immune, are still in the thick of it, deciding who's going home.
Trying to figure out what the plan is so that they can be in the
at
loop.
least they're aware. And I think that, well, foreshadowing here, but I think it was a misstep on his part.
I can see that. Jay's had to fight a little bit more than anybody else lately, though. So I think he. So I think in his defense, he probably said, "I've got immunity. I need some time to relax."
He also just sort of settled for like Will's next big move. He was like, "Okay, sure, we're gonna vote out." Well, they decided David, right? Or
yeah.
So, I mean, he wasn't playing the game. He was sitting. It's the same thing that happened. Well, it's just that concept of, oh, okay, I won, so I'll just sit back. I don't know. I was disappointed because I kind of like Jay in a way, like in a Aussie sort of way, but I don't think he's playing that well.
We'll see. We've still got 3 tribal councils to get through next week, and we've also, I think, based on who was on the jury, I think Jay's got votes because he's definitely.
Well, that's going to be an interesting discussion.
He's definitely got Michelle, Taylor, and I would think Will at this point. So that's 3 votes out of the 7 jurors.
Speaking of jury, well, it's in the next vote, but there was an interesting scene. It was just like a brief second where they cut out, but they showed the jury. There was an interesting scene where Will, I think he slapped Jessica on the shoulder when they voted out the next person.
Right.
He had predicted it and he was wrong, or maybe he told her that was going to happen and she didn't believe it. It was one of those moments where like, I told you so, or like, look what just happened.
I saw what you said, and I think it was probably on his part excitement that Jay was still in the game.
Well, maybe that's what it was. I don't know what it was. I thought it was an interesting scene,
but it wouldn't necessarily have mattered. Since Jay played the idol, but we could be getting jury scenes out of order. I'm just throwing that out there. It's like that could have happened at any moment throughout tribal council, and they said, "Oh, well, we like this scene between Will and Jessica. Let's throw it in at the end of the vote."
Yeah, and I would have to say from the editing this time, and I think it's next jury council when it starts, tribal council when it starts raining, because some people were wetter than others at different times. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I definitely think editing played a part.
It does play a part. It definitely plays.
So Will was voted out. Will joins the jury.
Were you surprised? I wasn't surprised. I thought he should go.
I wasn't surprised. I was really hoping. Basically, the people that I wanted to go home based on, who was entertaining and contributing to the episodes, they went home. Even though I thought it would be more exciting to vote out, one of these bigger threats. I like that the two people on the bottom of the confessional count went home.
Yes, the almighty confessional count.
Yeah.
So you'll have to get at the end of the episode, I think.
So we go back to camp after Will's voted out, and we got a lot of debate between much of the cast whether David or Jay is the biggest target at this point. Who has the best shot to win the game? And I think between the two of those, I think David has a really good chance at winning the game in a final tribal because he's got a really good story. He kind of came into the game as an underdog and grew up into a completely different person than he was on day one when he was covering his ears every time Brett smacked the bamboo with a machete.
And he's evolved as a player in the game.
Yes. He's become a very strong player, and I imagine we'll be seeing David again in the future. Not necessarily next season, but upcoming season.
Right. So versus Jay.
But Jay has a different story.
Well, what is Jay's story? See, you're more compelled, or you like Jay a bit more than I do.
I do like Jay, and I like Jay because Jay started out kind of as a villain in my book, just based on where his alliances were. But as the season progressed and we got to the middle of the game and the merge happened, and I see, wait, Jay's got these confessionals every episode. That doesn't make any sense. And that's part of why I like him, is because I kind of see that he's consistent and he's got a story that they're working on, and I'm not entirely sure what it is. But as far as Survivor and production goes, something's going on with Jay, and it's grown into this huge rivalry with Adam.
Well, that's the weird sort of situation that really came to the forefront in the second half of the episode, was that relationship between Adam and Jay. Because you're talking about, or you were mentioning how maybe there's a backstory with Jay that we don't know, or he hasn't talked about yet, or whatever. Because there was particularly, and we're jumping ahead a bit, but the scene where they were in the hammock and Adam was working his magic.
Right, and I don't know that for Adam that was, letting out his big secret was his best move, because when you let out a big secret like that does put a target on your back, because then you've got sympathy votes that you can go get at tribal council.
But Jay was clearly affected by knowing that, affected emotionally by it, which leads me to think what you're talking about, Jay, may be true. Because Jay admitted something like, I've been afraid my mom's going to die, or something.
Right. Jay's mother has, I believe it was brain aneurysms.
Yeah.
She's had them for nearly 10 years now. I believe is what he came out and said. So I don't know if that's. And I saw someone mention that we weren't expecting Adam to come out and tell Jay that his mom has stage 4 lung cancer, and then Jay kind of one-upped him. I don't necessarily know if that's a one-up or not. They're both. I feel like they're both big. They're both big deals. But I think I I definitely think there's. I definitely think it was a mistake on kind of almost both of their parts to reveal this big secret that they could have kept for to play for votes at Final Tribal. I think it may have softened the rivalry a little bit, which has been fun to watch. They've got kind of
it's kind of an interesting rivalry because they say I think it was one of the main parts from the whole episode actually was that because they sort of admitted that, or at least Adam doesn't like Jay, but he's still working with him. He's still sort of friends with him, or kind of likes him in a weird way.
I think it's kind of a.
It's like
it's kind of like a Charles Xavier and Magneto kind of relationship.
Ooh, wow, X-Men, go for it.
So, where it's like they're friends, but they're on opposite sides most of the time.
Hashtag Marvel.
Hashtag no. But that's kind of my take on their relationship. They're kind of frenemies, I believe is the term.
What was that term again?
Frenemies.
Oh, frenemy. Yeah. They are frenemies. That's a good term. Yes, they are frenemies.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead, because I was about to move on.
Yeah, no, move on. Let's move on, because we skipped a few things.
Okay. So I want to talk about the immunity challenge, because I thought this was really cool, the way they did the time penalty. And we've seen some similar challenges in Big Brother. I'm thinking specifically of the superhero challenge where they're attached to a cable and they fly from one end to the other, and put up a puzzle on a magnet board.
Yeah, this was a new twist to it, I think.
I really like this.
Yeah, I think it's really challenging too. Like, even though just watching it, it didn't look that challenging because it's like, oh, just look back and grab the ball. But like to focus your attention on two separate things at the same time so intently.
Focusing puzzles do take a whole lot of focus, and then but then you're splitting your focus between a puzzle and a timer, and all you can do is listen for that the ball to be hitting those pins. It made it very difficult, and we saw how difficult it was.
Right, I think every one of them missed it at least once. I was trying to keep track. But
I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
In the end, it seemed like the only way anybody was going to win that one was through the help of another player, which is what happened.
But Ken ends up winning out of nowhere. He sort of dominated it, though. Like, where did that come from? Yes, Adam helped him, but how much did Adam really help him?
I don't know, because Adam must have had a lot of trouble with his focus and splitting the time, so he must have just kind of given up. That's kind of
because sometimes players in these sorts of situations, not this particular challenge, but like they help the person who happens to be next to them. And was Ken next to Adam? I don't remember. He must have been.
I think he probably was. That's all I can think of. He probably, like, I imagine that if he was next to Hannah, he would have helped Hannah.
But would he have helped Hannah, or would he have helped Hannah if she was winning? And he helped Ken because he was winning, and he knew. See, I think Adam is playing a much more strategic, or has evolved into a much more strategic player than we've given him credit, especially over time. Because he was next, he was like, Ken's winning. Okay,
we saw Adam early in the season. He was, he was just very excitable, and he made several kind of dopey moves, but he's really kind of come into his own, and he's settled down and he's calmed down. He's realized he's playing Survivor, and he's got a lot of opportunity in front of him. And I definitely like that. Because I've liked Adam all season. And I would be absolutely thrilled if Adam won this game.
Well, yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, because actually we've talked about it, but I think so. Anybody who's left in the game still, I wouldn't dislike seeing them win, because I think they've all Sunday, if any of them was the floater that hasn't played as much as the rest of them. Sunday and perhaps Ken, but
oh, you're back. You froze for a bit, and I lost you.
No, I was talking about how this season the players who are still left, there's no villain, there's no anybody who you really dislike or someone who's totally floated through and not done anything. Maybe, right. And I was saying maybe Sunday and possibly Ken haven't played as hard as the rest of them.
Like I think probably Ken probably played harder than someone like Brett, perhaps. Looking at this final six,
maybe Brett a little. I think Brett's played harder than.
But as far as
likability, I think they're all pretty on par.
I think they're all fairly likable.
Yeah.
I think for me, my favorite three would probably be in order: Adam, Jay, Hannah right now.
Okay. Well, let's do some final predictions after we. So remember that you said Adam, Jay, Hannah.
Adam, Jay, Hannah. Those are just kind of like my favorites right now. And I don't know. That's not necessarily a prediction, but it's just It's just who I like. Favorite?
I don't know about Hannah. I would go Adam and Jay, or excuse me, David and Adam, because they're the two of
as your favorites, or your kind of picks.
My favorites who have played the game the hardest and really dominated the season.
This is just my personal whimsy favorites. So I'm not like picking like, oh, I think these players are playing the game the best.
Right. So my whimsy.
I'm just nitpicking.
My whimsy call would be Brett, because I kind of like Brett. He's a Boston guy. He's been wearing the Boston Bridge shirt the whole season. So.
Oh, is that what his is on his shirt? I didn't recognize his shirt. Like I figured it was. I didn't know what it was.
I'm 90% sure that's, and I don't know what the bridge is called, but like they did a big construction thing in Boston over the past like 10 years or so, and they built like this new modern style bridge, and that's like the two main structures of it. It's like a triangle with a thing on the top. It's also like a tunnel under the St. James River or whatever. I'm pretty sure that's what that T-shirt is that he's wearing.
Interesting. So I'm looking at it. I went and looked it up on Google. This is a very interesting bridge. I just Googled Boston Bridge.
Do you see it, or do you see what I mean?
Yeah, that's actually kind of cool, and it does look like what's on his shirt. So now I'm going to Google Boston Bridge T-shirt and see if that comes up.
Because he's from Boston, right? Or he's from one of the suburbs, at least.
Yeah, he's from.
Cambridge.
He's a Boston guy, and okay. So the exact shirt that he's wearing isn't coming up, but that doesn't mean that you're wrong or anything, because it does look like it based on what I'm seeing in these pictures. Yeah. Moving on. So we talked about the immunity challenge. We talked about Adam helping Ken. We talked a little bit about Adam and Jay in the hammock. But Adam tells Jay that he has to play his idol. That's all there is to it. He's gonna force his hand, make him play his idol.
Even though Adam knows that the others aren't necessarily going to follow what he wants. Because there's a lot of discussion.
There was a lot of discussion. There was a lot of discussion over whether it should be Jay or Adam or Sunday.
Yeah.
And pardon me. I liked Hannah's move. Hannah's pitch to vote out Sunday was straight out of Sari Field's playbook. And if you in season 12,
so you're gonna have to remind us of.
I am. I'm about to remind you. Sari is a. You remember Sari?
I do.
Okay, so season 12 was the first time she played Panama, and at Final 7, which coincidentally was where we are here now in this season, there was Courtney Merritt, and Courtney Merritt was kind of the season's GOAT, who everybody wanted to pick the final 2 because everybody could win against her. And these were back in the days where Final 2 was the thing. So Sari saw that everyone wants to take Courtney, so that makes Courtney the most dangerous player because everyone wants to take her to Final 2. So that takes a spot away from somebody else, away from me, away from another player who possibly deserves it, or however you want to say it. So Courtney gets voted off, leaves everybody shocked. All the other players are like, "What just happened? My goat's not here anymore."
Goat.
So goat.
Yeah.
So Hannah wants to vote out the season's GOAT, which is, in my opinion, always an excellent move. Vote out the GOAT. And I like the vote out the GOAT move because it means you're going to get good players at Final 3.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I didn't align it like with that historical situation like you did, like that past season and terming it the GOAT. But I think you're right. Like voting Sunday out and the strategy behind Anna wanting Sunday out was definitely a really good move, and it does ensure. I think the best players are still in the game that have been playing this season.
Agreed.
For sure.
Okay.
I think
So,
though. That being said, the idea that Sunday had lasted this long and the idea of a floater, a goat, or whatever, it's still a very viable. Floaters often win. It's not. It doesn't always make me happy
I
to
don't,
see them win.
I don't think they win. When was the last time you saw a floater win?
Oh, I can't remember. Well, last season. So, who won? He was a total floater. Um,
Okay, before we go any further, I think we need to define floater.
well, perhaps.
Because I kind of see a floater as, a person who doesn't keep. It's a term that's more often used in Big Brother. But it's also, we kind of see it as a player who just follows the majority every time. It doesn't stick themselves to one single alliance. And I don't think we have any of those this season.
Well, no, the floater. If there are floaters, they're clearly Brett and Sunday. I think this season. They have played roles in some big moves, but they played roles in David's side of the camp, right? Or following somebody else. And if things had gone other ways, so if things hadn't gone the way they had, some of the other floaters would have maybe been Michelle, because she was sort of, wavering back and forth between Taylor and Figs, but she would kind of talk to the other side and all that stuff. So, I think those are the floaters. I think floaters are a definite thing in Survivor. You obviously disagree.
I disagree. I don't necessarily see floaters in Survivor, at least definitely not the same way we see them in Big Brother. But
Big Brother is
we've had a lot of very clear alliances. I feel like, or clear leaders of alliances.
Actually, I think this has been a particularly unclear, unclarified alliance season. Because even at this point,
right now, all I can hear is Rachel Riley saying, "Floaters, grab a life vest," and that's.
My point about the floaters and the alliances, it seems like every week, so there's an alliance, and then someone's voted out, and so then there's a new strong tag, and then the next week we're over here and we have this one, and it seems to be going back and forth almost every single week. And in past seasons, Jeff even pointed it out. Oh, so we eventually vote out Sunday, and he's like, "Oh, how appropriate! We have 3 millennials and 3 Gen Xers left in the end, and we're ready for next episode, or the end of it next week, the 2-hour whatever finale." And you obviously disagree with me.
Yeah.
So it's your turn. Tell me your perspective.
I'm not sure. I am the term floater is really throwing me off. just because it's a very Big Brother-esque tone.
But how was Sunday really playing the game? Would be my.
She didn't just go with the majority every vote. She voted with somebody, and she was with somebody consistently.
But did she plan any of those votes?
That doesn't matter. She was part of an alliance. She was part of an alliance that stuck somewhere. That's no, but that's the thing. That's what a floater is somebody who doesn't have an alliance and just goes with the majority.
No. A floater is regardless of your alliance. A floater is someone who does not always vote with their alliance. It still sticks.
No. No.
I disagree.
You're wrong.
Okay, fair enough. Agreed to disagree.
Okay. So Sunday's voted out. Jay plays his idol, which means that Adam was successful in flushing it.
And we should have a separate discussion about that.
Okay.
Because almost the play of the game thus far this season. In the end, Jay didn't have to do it. He could have not done it.
But he could have not done it. But he knew that he was too much at risk not to. In my opinion, I don't think there was.
That's why. Is that why you think he played it because you thought he was too much of a risk having it?
I think the risk was too big that he was going to get voted out if he didn't play it. Because Jay knew that he did not have numbers. He knew that all the numbers were against him.
But he didn't even get a vote.
He did get a vote. He got one vote.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. I think it must have been Sunday's vote.
I'm just saying, I think Adam convincing him, even though Adam knew he wasn't writing his name down.
I think at the point when they talked, I think he was writing his name down. I think Hannah convinced him otherwise later, because they.
Oh.
But I think he still knew that he needed to talk. That they needed to flush Jay's idol. They needed the idol to be gone.
That was a confusing timeline as it was presented in the show. Like how that all came down between Adam trying to convince him, like that whole hammock thing where they were like, and Jay was like, I know I have to play and I hate you, or he said something like that.
Yeah.
And that was a little confusing, but I still think that Adam knew he wasn't going to be voting for Jay, and he was still trying to convince Jay to play the idol. And there was a scene towards that end, right before they went to Tribal Council, where Hannah says, the person who wins Survivor is someone who makes a decision and convinces you to go along with it. Do you remember that?
I do. That's a very good quote.
It was a very, and I may be not quoting it exactly, but it was like.
It was definitely a winner's quote.
Yeah.
I don't know that Hannah's going to get the win because of it, but.
But it was a very philosophical. She gets the game, or what's happening right now. So.
Agree, totally agree. So all the idols are gone. I don't think there's going to be another idol. Because I don't think there's going to be another real idol. Because we're at day 36 now. There are 3 days left in the game. There's no production is not going to plant another idol. We seem to be. We seem to get a fake idol.
Yeah. Well, two things. They have assumed there are no more idols, and I think we agree there aren't, or there couldn't be. But they've assumed that.
Right.
And then, secondly, yeah, they alluded to the fact that someone may or may not
make a fake idol.
And it was too obvious. It looked pretty obvious David's going to try to make a fake idol.
Yeah, that's what we kind of saw in the preview. But we're going to get to see what the legacy advantage really is next week, which is very exciting. Could be any number of things. I'm kind of stumped at this point. It could just be an advantage in the next immunity challenge, which would be really sad because that would be a waste of a quote new twist on the game. I feel like.
Do you think there's any chance that one of the jury members could come back into the game?
No. No, that's not something that will happen. Because the jury members have been sitting at Ponderosa eating food. So they're not going to let them come back into the game.
Just throwing it out there. I don't know.
So it could be, if it were day 38, I would suggest that possibly it's remove a juror. But I think being day 36, I think it could be an extra vote
for the next travel council.
Yeah. So I think that's probably the best shot at.
We're down to how many? 6?
We're down to 6.
Right.
So,
an extra would be most effective right now with an even number of people.
Yeah, because then you can split a tie.
When you're the swing, split the whatever. So.
So I'm kind of out of stuff to talk about.
Next week's the finale.
We get to see, we get to see the accumulation of everything that we've talked about this season. We'll find out what the legacy advantage is. We will have a winner. I assume we'll be doing our final podcast of the season next week. We'll talk about a little bit about season 34 after we get a little more information.
I was going to say, yeah, we're going to know who
we'll know
more about next season. So
officially at the end of the reunion next week, we'll know the title and logo of the season. We will also, we may or may not know some of the players. It's kind of up in the air, that we never know what they're going to show us really at the reunion. Unofficially, we know a little bit more than that. And we can decide later how much we want to talk about. Any final thoughts?
I don't know. Do you want to make a final prediction?
I do not.
Okay.
I still kind of think Jerry's going to win.
No,
but it's
fair enough. I'm still going to lean towards Adam.
Okay, then.
At this point,
So it's going to be a very fun finale.
I think there's going to be some fireworks.
There,
in
sure
the
there will.
last few challenges or whatever we have to do.
I'm definitely interested in hearing from the jury. So
Yeah, I think they're going to be fairly angry,
yeah, I imagine.
like usual. But yeah.
So that is all that we have for tonight. And we will see you all next week for after the finale. We'll have a winner to talk about. And just remember that clothing is always optional and nudity is never required. Have a good night.